Triumph of the Mistreated Luna, a werewolf shifter romance, written by Lily Robert. Part 2. Chapter 17. The cell reeks of mold and human misery, the stone walls weeping constant moisture. 3 days in the dungeons, and Celine can no longer remember what fresh air tastes like. The cream silk of her baby shower dress, now stained with grime and sweat, feels like a mockery, its delicate fabric rotting in the perpetual damp. She hasn't been offered a change of clothes. The Luna of the Northern Territories sits in her own filth, just like any common criminal. Something skitters in the darkness, rat or roach, she's stopped caring which. The sounds of her fellow prisoners echo through the cramped space, crude laughter, occasional sobs, the endless scrape of chains against stone. "Oi, your majesty," a gravelly voice calls out. "Still too good to answer when we speak to you?" Raucous laughter follows. Some of them know exactly who she is. Others simply see a woman in fancy dress, fallen from grace, an irresistible target either way. "Bet she's not so uppity with the guards when they visit at night," another voice suggests. More laughter, cruder this time. Celine pulls her knees tighter to her chest, pressing herself into the corner where the walls meet. The stone's chill has long since settled into her bones. Her stomach cramps with hunger. They feed the prisoners once a day if they remember. If they bother. Someone will come, she'd thought at first. Someone will realize this is madness. But the hours stretched into days, and no one has spoken in her defense. The guards who bring the thin gruel won't meet her eyes. Her own mate, no, her alpha, believes her capable of murder. She almost laughs at the thought. All those years of perfect obedience, of putting the pack first, of being the ideal Luna. And for what? To die in this hole, convicted of a crime she didn't commit? The evidence had been perfectly planted. The poison vial, the journal entries in her hand. Someone had studied her writing, knew her habits. Someone wanted her not just dead, but utterly destroyed. A sob catches in her throat. She's lived her entire life for duty, for the greater good, and this is her reward. Abandoned, betrayed, expendable. The tears come then, hot and silent against her grimy cheeks. So many regrets crowd her mind, impossible to ignore in the endless dark. She regrets not seeing Leo's true nature sooner, regrets thinking herself his equal when he only wanted submission, regrets failing her pack when they needed her most. She regrets Bella's death. No, not Bella's, but her unborn child's. That innocent life snuffed out before it began. Another thing she'll never have, another dream to die with her in this pit. She'd thought she'd made peace with her barrenness, but now the loss feels sharp as a blade. And Jace. The thought of him brings fresh pain, somehow worse than all the rest. She hopes he remembers her as she was, strong, dignified, worthy of respect. Not this broken thing huddled in the dark, reduced to nothing but regret and bitter tears. Perhaps it's better this way, she thinks, as heavy boots approach down the corridor. Better he never sees what I've become. "Time for questioning," a guard announces, and Celine knows there will be no mercy in what follows. The sunlight blinds her as they drag her through the gardens. After days in darkness, even the weak winter light feels like needles in her eyes. The air carries too many scents. Dozens, perhaps hundreds of shifters gathered to witness her shame. Murmurs ripple through the crowd as she stumbles past. Not just their pack, then, but representatives from every allied territory. Leo has made this a spectacle, she realizes. Her humiliation will be witnessed by the entire shifter world. "The Luna's fallen far," someone whispers. Never did trust those quiet ones. Hard to believe she'd poison a pregnant woman. Her silk dress, once elegant, now hangs in filthy tatters. Her hair, matted and unwashed, falls in her face. Each step feels like miles as they march her toward the great hall where Leo holds court. The crowd falls silent as the massive doors swing open. Afternoon light streams through towering windows, creating a halo effect around Leo's golden head. He lounges on his throne, and it is a throne today, not the simple chair he usually uses. One leg thrown carelessly over the armrest, his chin propped on his fist. Power radiates from him in waves, his presence filling the cavernous space. This is not the mate she's known for 10 years. This is something ancient and terrible, a god of judgment preparing to render verdict. "Bring her closer," he commands, voice carrying to every corner. The guards shove her forward. She stumbles, knees hitting the marble floor hard enough to bruise. Leo watches it all with cold detachment, as if she's already ceased to exist in his mind. "Luna Celine." His voice rings with authority. "You stand here today, amongst our people and allies, in front of your alpha and the alphas that stand with him, to be tried for the crime of murder." She meets his gaze steadily, refusing to cower despite her position. "You are accused of poisoning Bella, my consort, and our unborn child, my heir." Each word falls like a stone. "2 other alphas will assist me in determining your fate." She manages a slight nod. "To my right, Alpha Cedric of the Southern Territories." Cedric studies her like a particularly interesting specimen. She remembers him from countless diplomatic functions, remembers earning his respect through careful negotiation. Now his gaze holds nothing but clinical interest. Leo's jaw clenches. "And our third judge?" He trails off, clearly annoyed by footsteps echoing through the hall. The crowd parts, murmuring, though Celine can't see who approaches through the sea of faces. Their reactions intrigue her: shock, recognition, and something else. Fear? "Is this where I come in?" A voice booms. Celine's heart stops. That voice. She knows that smooth tone, knows the way it can shift from playful to lethal in a heartbeat. But it can't be. He can't be here. Not now, not like this. "I apologize for my tardiness, but my brother's funeral arrangements have kept me quite busy." The voice continues, closer now, smug. "Though I wouldn't miss this for the world." "Oh, we know," Leo grinds. "You made that perfectly clear." The crowd parts fully, and there he is. Jace. No, King Jace now, and dear God, he wears the title like he was born to it. Celine can't breathe, can't think. Her world narrows to the sight of him, to the way his eyes find hers across the crowded hall. "King Jace." Leo inclines his head stiffly. "How nice of you to join us." But Jace isn't looking at Leo. He's looking at her, blue gaze fixed on Celine with nothing but warmth and something deeper that makes her heart stutter. "My queen." He greets her. The endearment, spoken so naturally, sends a ripple through the crowd. He approaches with fluid grace, extending his hand. "So this is what you get up to when I'm gone, then?" He murmurs, teasing, as he takes her hand. Celine says nothing, though offers him a shaky smile in return. He then helps her to her feet, as if she's wearing finest silk instead of prison rags. When he brings her hand to his lips, the gesture feels like a declaration of war. "Shall we proceed?" He turns to Leo, his smile holding all the danger of a drawn blade. The crowd erupts in whispers as Jace moves to take his place beside the throne. Chapter 18. "How do you plead, Luna?" Leo asks. Afternoon light cuts through the great hall's windows. Celine meets Jace's eyes before answering. "Not guilty, Alpha." "You claim you had nothing to do with Bella's death?" "I do." Leo snarks, holding up a crystal vial like evidence. To him, it probably is. "Let us review the evidence, then," he declares. "This poison was found in the Luna's chambers, the same type that killed my consort and heir." The crowd gasps. Their stares weigh on Celine's skin. "Found rather easily, wouldn't you say?" Jace's voice holds dangerous amusement. "Anyone could have planted it." Along with this, Leo reveals the leather journal, pages of research on poisons. In her hand, Alpha Cedric leans forward. That is pretty condemning. Which, again, could have been planted. Jace challenges. Why would Celine even do this? Leo's laugh is cold. Isn't it obvious? Jealousy. She hated Bella from the beginning. Perhaps she resented that another would bear the Alpha's child, Cedric adds, his power crackling. When she could not. Please. Jace snorts dismissingly. She doesn't have a jealous bone in her body. Not even over the man she loves? Cedric asks. Jace smirks. Celine doesn't love Leo. The words hit like a slap. Leo surges up, rage filling the room. You dare! Bring in the witnesses, Cedric interrupts. Beta Kendrick approaches first, sweating under Leo's stare, not looking at Celine. The Luna was always cold, he says to the floor. Calculating. The way she'd watch everyone like she was waiting for us to make a mistake. Celine frowns. She gets along well with Kendrick. He often comes to her for advice instead of Leo. And toward Lady Bella specifically, Leo insists, his power pressing down on his beta, making his jaw clench. She resented her. He grinds. Did she? Leo presses, a dark gleam in her eyes. Kendrick's shoulders drop in defeat. Sure, we all saw it. He grimaces. I saw it. One by one, they step forward. Pack members whose disputes she's settled, whose children she's named, whose marriages she's blessed. Under Leo's stare, they speak of imagined wrongs, looking increasingly uncomfortable. She never smiled at Lady Bella's happiness. One says nervously, always undermining her authority. Another adds, making her feel unwelcome. Comes the third reluctant try. The marble floor seems to absorb their betrayal, growing colder with each false word. Only Sarah, when called, stands straight-backed despite Leo's growl of warning. The Luna has served this pack faithfully for a decade, she declares, voice ringing clear. She stayed dignified while others gossiped, strong while others wavered. She is the most honorable person I know. Leo's power crashes against her like a wave, but Sarah doesn't flinch. Are you sure about that, Sarah? Cedric asks. Alpha Leo seems to disagree. Sarah's eyes falls onto the crowd. I speak the truth, she says. The tension crackles until Leo calls the next witness. Lady Catherine. Celine's breath catches. Her mother enters, silver-streaked hair gleaming in the afternoon light. Their eyes meet, years of distance dissolving in shared pain. Oh, Celine. Her mother breathes tearfully. They wouldn't let me see you. I'm so sorry. Tell us of your daughter's character, Leo cuts in. Catherine sends him a dark look. My daughter has devoted her life to this pack, to you. Her eyes flash as Leo scoffs. She's shown nothing but loyalty, even when it cost her dearly. She's helped countless pack members, settled disputes, strengthened alliances. Yet she couldn't give me an heir, Leo cuts in. It takes two to make a baby, Jace observes, looking at his nails. How are you so sure the fault isn't with you? How dare you? Leo jumps to his feet, enraged. Bella was pregnant with my child, if you recall. I recall she was pregnant, Jace replies with a shrug. Celine gasps at the insinuation. Her mother, reading her expression, intervenes. She may not have given you an heir, but my daughter has given you everything else. Catherine's composure cracks. Her youth, her dreams, her chance at real love. Your maternal bias blinds you, Leo scoffs. Shiv would never do this. The name explodes from her mother like a thunderclap. The crowd stirs, whispers rising like wind through leaves. Who? Cedric leans forward, interested. Catherine's chin lifts towards her. Siobhan, Celine's birth name, before Alpha Leo changed it because he couldn't be bothered to learn its proper pronunciation. Out of the corner of her eye, Celine sees Jace go rigid, the color draining from his face. She tries to catch his gaze, but he seems too shocked to notice. My daughter, Shiv, has only ever been faithful. To her pack, to her duty, and to a mate who never deserved her. Her mother concludes. Enough of this. Leo rises, power rolling off him in waves. The evidence is clear. It's time to vote. Cedric sends him a glance. Perhaps we should interrogate the accused, he reminds. Leo sighs. Fine. Celine, speak. He barks, making the crowd jump. Celine inclines her head politely. I didn't do this, she says. I didn't kill Bella. Leo snorts. Right, convincing. I didn't kill her. Celine insists. But perhaps I know who did. Gaps and murmurs echo throughout the chamber. Even Leo's eyes gleam in curiosity at that. Celine meets his gaze steadily. Tell me, Alpha, have you seen Bella's bodyguard since her death? Ian seems conspicuously absent today. Leo frowns. What does that matter? He hasn't been seen since Lady Bella's passing, Sarah calls from the crowd. Not by anyone. This is just as I suspected, Celine thinks, the pieces falling into place. If anyone had clear access to Bella and a true motive of jealousy, it was Ian. It's quite the coincidence, Celine says softly. The one person with clear access to Bella and a motive of jealousy disappears. What are you implying? Leo's power crackles dangerously. I have reason to believe Bella was having an affair with Ian, Celine declares. The words land like a bomb. Leo surges to his feet again. Impossible. Bella would never. What makes you say that, Celine? Jace interrupts, his face still oddly pale and distracted. Celine meets his troubled gaze. Because I caught them together in the gardens. She describes that night, the passionate embrace, Ian's possessive claims, his insistence that Bella's child was his. Lies, Leo roars. I am the father. Perhaps, Celine says quietly, though Ian didn't think so. Leo's fury fills the room like smoke. Either you're lying now, which only proves your hatred of Bella, or you knew of this affair for months and said nothing, putting her at risk. His smile turns cruel. Either way, you've sealed your own guilt. Being guilty of discretion isn't the same as murder, Jace points out, but Leo's already turning to Cedric. Vote, he commands. Now. I believe her innocent, Jace says immediately. Cedric hesitates, Celine holding back her breath as she awaits his verdict. Leo will clearly vote her guilty. This leaves Cedric as the turning point. Perhaps with more time? He begins. I will not stand for the death of my child to go unpunished any longer. Leo roars. Vote now, Cedric, or I swear. Fine. The other Alpha sighs, looking a mix of fed up and uneasy. Without proof from Celine of this affair, but with evidence of her guilt. He shakes his head. I must vote against the Luna. Leo's smile turns feral. Then, as Alpha, I declare Celine guilty. Satisfaction darkens his tone. The sentence is death. The crowd erupt into stupefied murmurs. Celine would almost feel better for it, this clear sign that everyone had expected her to go free if it wasn't for the fact of her impending death. Her eyes find Jace's amidst the chaos, his specked with gold and filled with crazed desperation. No. Jace stands, and something in his voice makes the entire hall hold its breath. No? Leo snorts. As if you have any right to. I claim right of substitution. Jace cuts him off. The silence that befalls the room then is deafening. Even Leo gapes for a second. The right of substitution? Cedric looks bewildered. You wish to die in the Luna's place? Celine shakes her head at Jace. What is he playing at? Is this some sort of trick? Surely he can't really mean... Jace, she begins. What are you... On what grounds? Leo sneers, recovered from the shock. You're not her pack, not her alpha, not her... This woman is my fated mate, Jace declares. Celine's gasps bleeds in with the entire chambers as Jace's gaze locks with hers. It's true, he murmurs as if to answer a collective question. Impossible, Leo snarls, but uncertainty creeps into his voice. Jace's smile turns dangerous as his fingers move to his shirt. Shall I show you my mark? The name I've carried since birth? His eyes never leave Celine's face. Though I've spent years searching for a Siobhan, when all along she was right here, calling herself Celine. The words echo through the sudden silence. For one breathless moment, joy floods Celine's chest, the sheer possibility of having found her true mate before horror crashes in. He's offering to die in her place. No! She jumps up. No, he's lying! Jace's eyes blaze with challenge. I'm not Celine. He says, You know I'm not. Cedric leans forward, intrigued. Well, which is it? Are you fated mates or not? Celine shakes her head vehemently. Of course not. She protests, voice shaking. I'd know if he was my mate. Would you? Jace's tone gentles. You're a wolf. You don't bear marks like we do, and you're already mated, which clouds the connection further. I would feel something, she insists. But when I look at you, I feel nothing. Jace smiles, a soft smile that holds equal parts tenderness and amusement. Is that so? He asks. Nothing, Celine repeats, though tears betray her. I'll bet 5 gold pieces she feels something, Cedric mutters to Leo. I can prove it, Jace says loudly for the entire room to hear. My mark will glow at your touch, if you truly are mine. Their eyes meet, and Celine's heart sinks. She already knows the truth, can feel it humming between them like a plucked string, and Jace won't let her deny it. But she doesn't want to find him only to lose him, doesn't want him to sacrifice himself for her. Come forward, Leo commands. A guard half drags her to where Jace stands. He begins unbuttoning his shirt, and Celine's hands move without thought, turning him away from the crowd's hungry stares. Rather possessive for someone who feels nothing, Cedric observes dryly. Approving whispers echo through the room at that. Celine pouts in their general direction. Jace's skin gleams golden in the afternoon light, lean muscle rippling as he moves. The mark sits above his heart, her name, her true name, written in elegant script that seems to shimmer with possibility. Siobhan. Seeing it there sends a pang through her chest. Another thing Leo took from her, making her use Celine instead, creating this small but crucial disconnect from her own fate. Get on with it, Leo snaps. Jace's knowing smirk doesn't quite hide the tenderness in his eyes. Celine's hand trembles as she reaches for the mark. The moment her fingers brush his skin, heat blooms, spreading outward until her whole body hums with awareness of him. Light spreads beneath her fingertips, the mark beginning to glow with soft blue radiance. Well, Jace's voice holds quiet triumph. That solves it then. Chapter 19. The mark's glow bathes them both in soft blue light, and for one precious moment, Celine feels complete, as if a piece of herself she never knew was missing has finally slotted into place. The connection between them hums like a plucked string, making her whole body sing with awareness of him. Then Leo's satisfied voice shatters the moment. Well then, as her fated mate, you have the right to take her place. His smile turns cruel. The execution will proceed as planned. Gasps ripple through the crowd. Some of the older wolves mutter about the sanctity of fated pairs, while others whisper about the political implications. The scent of anticipation fills the air. They're watching not just a trial now, but a tragic romance unfold before their eyes. Jace's fingers lace through Celine's, his thumb brushing her knuckles. When she meets his eyes, his sad smile breaks something in her chest. Even now, facing death, he looks at her like she's the only thing that matters. No. The word tears from her throat, raw with desperation. I won't let you do this. You can't stop me. His voice holds gentle finality. I'm alpha now. I outrank you. She stomps his foot, hard enough to make several witnesses wince. His quiet laugh only fuels her fury, though his scent, sandalwood and midnight air, wraps around her like a caress. Leo, please. She turns to her mate, heart pounding. Not only am I innocent, but Jace had nothing to do with this. You'd start a war over nothing. Leo's eyes gleam with malice, his power pressing down like a physical weight. Someone must pay. The leopards won't stand for this, she argues, shooting Jace a severe look that he meets with infuriating calm. You'd risk both our packs over... I'm selfish, Jace interrupts softly. His fingers tighten around hers, the contact sending sparks up her arm. I choose your life over mine, over anything. I know. Her voice cracks, tears threatening. But I won't let you. She turns to Cedric, desperation lending steel to her spine. Give me time to prove my claims about Ian. 1 week. This does complicate matters, Cedric muses, studying the way Jace's thumb traces patterns on Celine's palm. Executing the Leopard King would have consequences. Leo snarls, his fury making the torches flicker. The evidence... Yes, Cedric waves away his protest. But now we're talking about killing the leader of a foreign pack. Politics become... messier. The crowd's murmurs grow louder. Someone mentions ancient treaties between wolves and leopards. Another voice recalls the last time a fated pair was separated by violence, how the surviving mate had laid waste to 3 territories in their grief. 24 hours, Cedric declares. The words fall like stones in water, ripples of reaction spreading through the assembly. Find proof to absolve yourself or... He glances at Jace. Well, that's not enough time. Celine's grip on Jace's hand turns painful. Terror claws at her throat. She's just found him, her true mate, and now she might lose him to her own execution. The countdown starts now. Cedric rises. I suggest you hurry. Jace brings their joined hands to his lips, his kiss burning against her skin. Best get to work then, my queen. Chapter 20. Luna Celine. The shout cuts through the crowd as Celine descends the courthouse steps. Pack members surge forward, their questions overlapping in a cacophony of accusation and curiosity. Did you really poison Lady Bella out of jealousy? What do you say to allegations that... My Luna. A steady hand catches her elbow. Eric, one of the senior pack enforcers, pulls her aside with practiced efficiency. His expression holds something like regret. The Alpha requests you leave his territory immediately, under escort. Leave? How am I supposed to gather evidence about a crime that took place here if I'm forced to leave? Celine snaps. 24 hours, Eric. That's all I have to clear my name. The man's grip tightens slightly. The Alpha's orders were clear. Eric, do you want to risk a war? She meets his gaze steadily. Because if I don't clear my name, my true mate, the king of the leopard pack, will die. And trust me, then his blood won't be the only one that spills. Eric hesitates. It's enough. Celine slips free, pushing through the crowd with quiet determination. Behind her, she hears him call out, My Luna, please! But she's already gone, the courthouse bells tolling ominously in her wake. 1 hour down. The mansion, when she arrives, feels like enemy territory. Servants scatter at her approach, averting their eyes. In the kitchen, conversation dies as she passes. Even the gardener, who's tended these grounds since before she became Luna, suddenly finds his roses fascinating. "I need to change," she announces to no one in particular. Silence answers. She's halfway up the grand staircase when a familiar voice whispers, "This way, my Luna." Sarah emerges from a hidden alcove, gesturing urgently. "The Alpha's men are watching your chambers. Use the servants' passage." Celine follows without hesitation, relief flooding her chest at this small show of loyalty. The narrow corridor leads them to her private dressing room, where Sarah helps her quickly change into tracking clothes. "The Alpha has forbidden anyone from helping you," Sarah murmurs, fingers flying over bootlaces. "But he never specifically ordered us to help him stop you either." "That's a shaky loophole, Sarah," Celine says, catching her hand. "You know what you risk by betraying your Alpha?" Sarah meets her eyes steadily. "I don't have an Alpha," she declares, jaw clench. "I have a Luna, and that's you." Celine's breath catches at this. "Sarah, thank you." "You'll thank me once you and King Jace go free, my lady." Sarah smiles. "Right now, we're a bit pressed for time." Celine manages a small smile. "Have you heard anything about Ian?" "Nothing concrete, but—" Sarah hesitates. "Cook mentioned deliveries to the docks, supplies that didn't match our usual orders." "The docks?" Celine frowns. "How does this concern—" "Ian used to work at the docks," Sarah explains, "as security, before being hired to watch over Miss Bella. I remember because I found it strange it gets such a prestigious job after merely working at the docks." A knock at the main door freezes them both. "Who's there?" A guard's voice carries through. Sarah's eyes widen in panic, but Celine is already moving. "Come with me," she whispers. "I need your help." They slip out through another servant's passage, emerging near the servants' quarters, and most importantly, Ian's chambers. "What are we looking for?" Sarah whispers as Celine circles the room. "Anything unusual. Anything that might tell us where Ian could have gone." Celine breathes deeply, sorting through the layers of scent. Bella's cloying perfume, the sharp tang of fear, and beneath it all, there. She points to faint scuff marks on the carpet. Ian's boots, recently polished. He was nervous, wanted to look his best. "How can you tell?" "The Polish has a distinct chemical smell. Fresh, maybe applied this morning. Sometimes what people leave behind tells us more than what they take." "Like this?" Sarah holds up a crumpled receipt found beneath the bed. "Maritime Shipping Company, Dock 7 Storage." Celine nods, studying the paper carefully. "Of course, he'd need somewhere to hide until this blows over. Somewhere with access to transportation." "You think this will be enough to prove he had something to do with Bella's death, my Luna?" "Definitely not." Celine sighs. "We'll need to go there ourselves. Hopefully, our culprit will still be there, laying low." "The docks are huge, though," Sarah points out. "How will we—" "We'll start with this company." Celine's voice holds fresh determination. "Ian's not as clever as he thinks. He'll have left traces." The docks bustle with afternoon activity when they arrive, salt air and fish guts assaulting their sensitive noses. A weathered dock worker eyes them suspiciously as they approach. "Maritime Shipping?" Sarah asks, showing the receipt. "We're looking for their storage facility." "That one." He jerks his thumb toward a warehouse near the water. "Been quiet lately. Strange that—" "Strange how?" Celine prompts. "Usually busy as anything. Last few days?" He shrugs. "Nothing. No shipments, no workers, just that big fellow coming and going at odd hours." "Big fellow?" Celine's heart races as they approach the warehouse. Ian's scent grows stronger. Her wolf bristles beneath her skin, recognizing prey. She'll find him, she tells herself. She'll find him, and she'll get him to confess. There's no other way. The main entrance is locked, but a side door yields to their touch. Inside, crates tower toward a distant ceiling, creating shadowy canyons that seem to stretch forever. The scent trail weaves between them, growing fainter with each turn. It stops here, Celine announces when they reach a stack of empty crates. Dead end. 6 hours gone. Sarah checks her watch anxiously. Maybe we should try... Wait. Celine holds up a hand. Shipping records. If Ian has escaped by boat or plans to, there must be documentation. They split up, searching for an office or file room. Sarah's whispered, "My Luna," draws Celine to a door tucked between towering shelves, plain, unmarked, unremarkable except for the faint golden light seeping beneath it. That light, Sarah frowns. It's not electric, is it? Something about that warm glow calls to Celine, inviting, almost magical. Please, she thinks, reaching for the handle. I need to find the truth. I need to save him. The door swings open, and Celine steps through, not into an office, but into impossibility. She's inside an old bookshop. Dim moonlight filtering through its windows, though Celine could have sworn it was mid-afternoon moments ago. Now the night presses against the glass like a living thing, held at bay by the warm glow of one lonely antique lamp. Sarah? Celine turns, but her assistant is gone. The docks have vanished behind her, leaving only the dimly lit cobbled street of a town Celine has never seen in her life. Or so it appears. And in front of her there are dusty shelves line narrow aisles, books stacked haphazardly from floor to ceiling. The musty scent of aged paper fills the air, but beneath it lurks something wrong. Something that makes Celine's wolf bristle uneasily. Celine's enhanced senses strain against the shadows, trying to make sense of this impossibility. That wrongness she'd sensed grows stronger with each step, like static raising the hair on her arms. It reminds her of something, though she can't quite place what. Her wolf paces restlessly beneath her skin, warning of danger. But what kind? The scents here are off. Old paper and dust, yes, but underneath that lies something darker, something that tastes like midnight and void on her tongue. A creak echoes from somewhere deeper in the shop. Celine freezes, every muscle coiled tight. Another sound follows, the soft shuffle of feet on wooden floors. She moves silently between the shelves, her training taking over. If someone brought her here against her will, she won't give them the advantage of surprise. Her heart pounds, but her steps remain steady as she stalks toward the source of movement. That strange aura grows stronger as she advances. It reminds her of something she'd sensed around Ian lately, though that seems impossible. Unless, had he somehow arranged this? Found some way to trap her here while Jace's time runs out? The thought makes her teeth sharpen slightly. She will not let anyone stop her from saving him. A shadow moves ahead, someone emerging from what appears to be a small kitchen area. Celine tenses, ready to spring. The figure steps into view, a young woman, barely more than a girl, carrying a steaming cup of tea. Human, Celine's nose tells her instantly. Her attack stops mid-motion, Celine's hand freezing inches from the girl's horrified gaze. There's a brief second of silent shock. And then, the girl releases the most piercing scream Celine's ever heard, and the next thing she knows, tea splashes across worn floorboards, the scent of chamomile rises with the steam, and something wraps around Celine's throat. That dark presence she'd sensed explodes around them. Celine might have been alarmed if she'd still been able to breathe. As it is, though, she can only choke, her hands clawing desperately at her neck in protest. She finds nothing to remove, nothing that explains why her windpipe is currently being crushed. the pressure on it increasing. Celine is running out of air. She knows because dark spots begin to dance at the edges of her vision. Though through the darkness, she does see a man appear, seemingly out of thin air. When there'd been a void, now there's him, only inches away, his green eyes bearing into hers. "What do you want with Iris?" he asks, head cocked and lips pinched like he's looking at a strange curiosity. Celine's only reply is a choked gasp. Chapter 21. The man studies Celine with unnerving intensity, his head tilting slightly. Interesting. A shifter. His voice carries the detached curiosity of someone examining an unusual specimen. "No shit!" The young woman throws her hands up in exasperation. He frowns thoughtfully. "Are you certain she's not one of my clients? Are you drunk again? Of course she's a client." "What?" The invisible force around Celine's throat vanishes instantly, dropping her unceremoniously to the floor. She lands with a graceless thud as the man rounds on the girl. "Well, why did you scream then?" The girl stares at him like he's sprouted a second head. "Gee, I don't know, Adrian, maybe because she came out of nowhere?" He rolls his eyes skyward as Celine massages her bruised throat. "They literally always come out of nowhere, Iris. You don't scream your head off every time." "She startled me." The girl, Iris, protests, cheeks flushing. The man, Adrian, kneels beside Celine, examining her with those unsettling green eyes. "Terribly sorry," he offers, not sounding particularly apologetic. "Thought you were attacking my assistant." Iris's nose rises imperiously. "I wear a protection charm at all times anyway, Adrian. One you gave to me, so really, you're the one that jumped the gun for no reason at all." The man, Adrian, extends his hand to help Celine up. She ignores it, rising on her own with as much dignity as she can muster. "Well," she manages, her throat still raw, "I suppose I did come out of nowhere." "See?" Iris practically glows with vindication. Celine studies the man carefully, noting how the shadows seem to cling to him like a second skin. The darkness she'd sensed earlier emanates from him in waves, making her wolf huddle defensively against her ribcage. "This man practices dark magic," she warns the girl, concern coloring her tone. "Are you aware?" Iris rolls her eyes so hard it's a wonder they don't get stuck. "Oh, trust me. I'm aware." She sighs dramatically, looking mournfully at her shattered teacup. "Guess I'll have to make myself another then." Her tone suggests this is somehow more troubling than working for a master of the dark arts. Celine's brow furrows. This poor human girl clearly has no idea what she's gotten herself into. "Can I have one?" Adrian calls after Iris is retreating back. "No." "Please?" There's a weighted pause. Adrian glances at Celine with an expression that clearly says, "See what I have to put up with?" "You want honey in it?" Iris's voice floats back, slightly less sharp. A small, pleased smile tugs at Adrian's lips. "Yes, please." Despite knowing a human girl could hardly protect her when even Celine's own considerable strength had proven useless against Adrian's magic, she still feels more vulnerable once Iris leaves. Her wolf coils tighter beneath her skin, hackles raised. "Door's right over there." Adrian gestures lazily toward the entrance. "Go on then, shifter. Nobody's stopping you." Celine studies him, trying to read past that eerily blank expression. He settles into a worn armchair, crossing his long legs with casual grace, and waves at the door again. "Really, though, no one's stopping you?" She narrows her eyes. His answering smile is wrong somehow, like he's approximating the expression from a badly written manual. "Jesus, Adrian." Iris appears in the doorway, fresh tea in hand. "I told you to stop smiling, it's just weird." His face settles into a more natural scowl. "Tea?" Iris offers the cup to Celine. "She was just leaving." Adrian interjects. Where even are we? Celine asks, finally finding her voice. The question has been burning since she arrived. My shop. Adrian deadpans. It's night out. Celine gestures to the window. It wasn't when... She frowns, unable to complete the thought. Teleported to the shop? Iris supplies helpfully. Is that what it was? Not really, but we'll call it that if it helps. Adrian sips his tea, then grimaces. You used the honey I hate. Did I? Iris's innocent smile could butter bread. All right, Celine interrupts, having reached her lifetime quota of meaningless banter in the span of 5 minutes. How do I get back? Her heart rate spikes as implications crash over her. What if she's impossibly far from her territory? She has less than 18 hours left to save Jace, and here she is, gods know where, wasting precious time. Through the door, Adrian says simply, You'll end up right back where you started. It's what happens to all our clients, Iris adds brightly. I'm not a client. The words come out sharper than intended, her nerves frayed to breaking. You wouldn't be here if you weren't. Adrian's tone carries absolute certainty. I have nothing to buy. Celine turns toward the door, disgusted with herself for even considering... What? Purchasing dark artifacts from the man who'd tried to strangle her? People end up here when they truly yearn for something. His quiet words stop her mid-step. So that I can give it to them. Something in his tone, resignation, regret, makes her turn back. What do you mean? I grant wishes. He sets down his tea. Any wish, really, though there's always a price. What kind of price? Whatever you love most. His green eyes seem to look straight through her. Though it's rarely what people expect. When Celine just stares, trying to process it all, Iris pipes up. He means you'd have to be properly desperate to make one. Yes, it's very clear, thank you, Celine manages faintly. Her mind races. 18 hours to save Jace. No leads, no proof of Bella and Ian's deception. Just the truth locked away somewhere, taunting her while time slips away. And Jace. Her heart clenches, remembering his face in that courtroom, how he'd offered himself in her place without hesitation. She can't let him die for her. She can't. Could you help me find proof against someone? The words escape before she can stop them. Immediately, she wants to take them back. Dark magic is dangerous. She's known this since childhood. The price is always too high, the consequences too dire. Yes. Adrian's simple response cuts through her spiral. His eyes meet hers, and she sees something there that makes her wolf want to howl. A deep, endless sadness, like he already knows exactly how this will end. Celine hesitates, her wolf's instincts screaming against trusting dark magic. But Jace's life hangs in the balance. I'm being framed for a murder I didn't commit. The words taste bitter on her tongue. She explains about Bella, her mate's mistress, about the sudden death and the evidence that appeared as if by magic, pointing directly to Celine. Adrian's face grows steadily paler as she speaks. When she concludes by mentioning Ian's suspicious disappearance, the magician looks downright ill. So, will you help me? Celine presses, too focused on her goal to question his reaction. I'm sorry. Adrian's voice carries genuine regret. I can't. What? But you just said... Helping you find what you're looking for would go directly against a wish I've already granted. Celine freezes as implications crash over her like ice water. Are you saying Ian asked you to frame me? I can neither confirm nor deny. Adrian's gaze slides away from hers. Fury rises in Celine's chest, but before she can speak, Iris steps between them. It's not his fault, the girl insists. There are rules. He can't refuse a wish, can't take one back, and can't grant anything that would undo a previous wish. Her chin lifts defiantly, and he absolutely cannot tell you who wished for what or why. Someone is about to die in my place. Celine's composure cracks. For a crime I didn't commit. Well, Adrian will die if he breaks the rules, Iris snaps back. Celine forces herself to take a steadying breath. She's Luna. She doesn't get driven by emotions. She needs to think methodically. The facts align in her mind like pieces on a chessboard. She cannot wish for proof of her innocence because it would counter a previous wish. That means someone definitely wished for her to be framed. Adrian can't confirm who, but her instincts scream that it must have been Ian. And could you help me track someone down? She asks carefully. Adrian nods. Could you help me get to this person right away? Another nod. Not ideal, but perhaps if she could find Ian, force a confession. And in exchange, you'd take what matters to me most? If you wished for something, yes. Adrian's eyes hold that haunting sadness again. But then again, you could just use your shifter powers to track someone down, couldn't you? Iris whirls on him, appalled. What are you doing? I'm just saying, Adrian tries. No! You're doing the thing. Iris's voice rises with genuine distress. The thing? Celine frowns. The thing where he's not technically breaking the rules, but he kind of is, and then he gets sick. Iris's mouth sets in a tight line of disapproval. I don't understand, Celine begins. Please, could you explain? Lady, Iris throws her hands up. He already explained. Use your powers, track down your culprit. I already tried that, Celine snaps. It led me... She stops, realization dawning. It led her here, to this impossible shop where Ian had been, if her deductions were correct. She closes her eyes, forcing herself to focus past the overwhelming darkness of Adrian's magic. Beneath layers of dust and old paper, past the lingering traces of countless desperate visitors, she catches it. Ian's distinctive scent. Her eyes snap open as she follows it to the shop's entrance. Iris, Adrian's voice carries forced casualness. Don't you feel like opening the door and accompanying Celine outside? Not particularly, no. Iris, Adrian barks. Fine. The girl appears at Celine's side, yanking the door open with unnecessary force. Beyond lies the dark street Celine had glimpsed through the windows. Take my hand. Iris sighs. I'll go first. They step out together onto worn cobblestones. There, you're still here. Iris's pointed look carries clear meaning. Celine barely notices, too focused on Ian's trail leading down the shadowy street. Thank you, she breathes. Yeah, whatever. Come back to the shop when you want to get home. If I'm not holding your hand, the portal will work. Celine nods absently, already moving. The scent grows stronger with each step, leading her to a rundown motel. She forces herself to slow, to act casual as she approaches the front desk. Room for the night? She keeps her voice steady despite her racing heart. The clerk barely glances up from his newspaper as he hands over a key, but Celine's already moving past, following Ian's trail up creaking stairs. His scent grows overwhelming. He's close, so close. But something else tickles her nose. Another shifter. The scent is maddeningly familiar, growing stronger as she approaches Ian's door, but she can't quite place it through the motel's musty air. Time's running out. Jace's life hangs by a thread. With a silent prayer, Celine kicks the door clean off its hinges. A shocked scream pierces the air, followed by a deep male growl, but Celine barely registers them, her entire world narrowing to a single impossible sight. For there, tangled in cheap motel sheets and very much alive, is Bella. Chapter 21. How? The word catches in Celine's throat. Her mind refuses to process what her eyes are seeing. Bella, very much alive, her pregnant belly clearly visible beneath a silk nightgown as she scrambles to cover herself with cheap motel sheets. Relief wars with bewilderment. The baby, at least, is safe. But then, what body had she seen at the mansion? No, no, no. Bella's eyes are wide with naked terror as she whimpers, backing against the headboard. You can't be here. Celine, how are you here? She doesn't have time to reply. A shadow launches itself forward from the corner of the room, Ian's massive frame filling Celine's vision. You should have left well enough alone, Luna, he snarls. And died for your fake crime? Celine snaps back, dropping into a defensive crouch as Ian circles her. His lips pull back from elongated teeth, wolf pushing close to the surface. He strikes first, a brutal swing that would have crushed her windpipe if it connected. But you don't become Luna without learning to fight, and Celine is already moving. She slides under his guard, landing 3 quick strikes to his ribs before dancing away. Ian growls, more annoyed than hurt. He's stronger, yes, but Celine notes how his movements telegraph his intentions. All brute force. No finesse. She can use that. Behind them, Bella's terrified wails fill the cramped room. Ian, she'll tell Leo, she'll... Keep it down. Ian snaps over his shoulder. You want every human in this dump to hear us? Celine seizes her opening. As Ian turns his back, she drives her knee into his sternum, following with an elbow to his throat. He staggers, caught off guard, and she presses her advantage. A sweep takes his legs out, and she follows him down, forearm pressed against his windpipe as her other hand extends claws against his jugular. How did you do it? She demands, pressing harder as he struggles. The magician helped you fake her death somehow, didn't he? All to frame me? He had no choice. Bella's voice cracks with desperation. Ian was protecting me. Celine's head snaps toward her. Leo. Bella's hands clutch protectively over her belly. He found out about us. He was going to execute me. Ian had to get me away, had to make sure Leo wouldn't come looking by... By what? Framing me for murder? Celine's claws dig deeper into Ian's throat, drawing a thin line of blood. His sneer is ugly despite his position. Celine's knee drives into a particularly sensitive area, making him wheeze. Her mind races, comparing this story to Leo's genuine devastation at Bella's supposed death, at losing the heir he so desperately wanted. You're lying, she realizes, meeting Ian's eyes. Even if Leo somehow discovered the affair, which I doubt, he would never harm his child. The pack laws forbid executing pregnant women, and Leo may be impulsive, but he's still alpha. And most importantly, he's convinced this child is his. You lied to Bella to get her to play along, didn't you? She turns to Bella, whose tear-streaked face has gone very still. Besides, if he'd truly discovered your infidelity, he wouldn't have been so quick to blame me for your death. Trust me on this, he has no idea. Something shifts in Bella's expression, dawning horror as she searches Ian's face. Ian, you lied to me? Ian's struggle beneath Celine renews with fresh desperation. I couldn't stand it anymore, he roars. Watching him parade you around, touching you, claiming you when you're mine. His voice breaks on the last word. You belong with me. Not playing consort to some entitled alpha who doesn't even know you. I had to get you away, make you see reason. What? Bella's shriek could shatter glass. How could you? Tell me about the magician. Celine cuts through Bella's hysteria. You made a wish? Ian's shoulders slump, defeat written in every line of his body. Yes, he admits quietly, unable to take his eyes off Bella's tearful collapse. I wished for his help to fake her death, to get her away from him. Bella launches herself from the bed at that, tiny fists beating against Ian's chest. Everything! Bella's voice rises hysterically. I had everything. The finest silks from Paris, jewelry worth fortunes, an entire wing of the mansion to myself. I was special, she sobs. Leo's miracle, his perfect love, and you destroyed it. If that's all you wanted, Ian snarls, straining against Celine's hold, you should have let me go. But you couldn't, could you? His voice drops lower, intimate despite their audience. Because deep down, you know none of those things matter, not compared to what we have. Bella's only response is a fresh wave of tears. Celine fights the urge to roll her eyes. Time is slipping away while these two play out their melodrama, and somewhere Jace waits in a cell, counting down his final hours. Listen, she cuts in, making her voice carefully reasonable. I can take you back to court, Bella. I'll testify that Ian kidnapped you, that I tracked you down and rescued you. The words taste bitter, but she forces them out. Leo never has to know the truth. You can pick up exactly where you left off. Hope flares in Bella's tear-stained face, but uncertainty quickly follows. But Leo will never stop hunting Ian. He'll want revenge for my kidnapping. Probably, Celine agrees. She turns to Ian, still pinned beneath her. But with a good head start, you could disappear, couldn't you? Ian's struggles renew with fresh vigor. Never. She's mine. I won't let her. See? Bella throws up her hands. He won't see reason. Then make him see it, Celine snaps. Tell him you don't want to see him again. Bella's lower lip trembles as she turns to Ian. Something passes between them, some silent communication that makes Celine's patience fray further. You can't do it, can you? Ian's smile holds triumph despite his position. Go on, tell her. Tell her you don't want me. I don't. Bella's voice wavers unconvincingly. Fresh tears spill down her cheeks. Before Celine can react, Ian surges upward with unexpected strength. Her hold breaks as he twists free, but instead of attacking, he reaches for Bella. She falls into his arms like she's been waiting for exactly this moment, their lips meeting in a desperate kiss. Celine watches them with growing disgust, wondering if either of them realizes how many lives their theatrical romance has destroyed. Or perhaps they simply don't care, too lost in their own passion to consider the consequences. Her wolf bristles at the display, and she thinks of Jace, alone in his cell, paying the price for their selfish games. Time is running out, and watching these two devour each other isn't going to save him. Celine straightens, disgust and resignation warring in her chest. Fine, she says, moving toward the door. Then I'll tell them all what you did. Good luck hiding from an alpha's rage. Ian breaks away from Bella with a snarl, lunging for Celine. She pivots, catching him with a precise kick that sends him staggering back. If I don't return, she warns, people will come looking. If not Leo, then the leopards, and they'll be furious about Jace's death. Jace? Bella's brow furrows. Why would Jace die? Because he claimed right of substitution. The words come out sharp as blades. He offered his life in place of mine. Shock ripples across Bella's face as implications sink in. For the first time, real guilt flickers in her eyes. Your best chance is to run now, Celine continues. I won't stop you, but I will not sacrifice Jace or risk war between our packs for the likes of you. Her gaze fixes on Ian. And killing me would only make your situation worse. Ian's muscles bunch, clearly considering his odds, but Bella moves faster. She throws herself at Celine's feet, clutching at her hands with desperate strength. Please, she begs, tears spilling fresh. I understand. But please, beg Leo for mercy, for both of us. As if that would matter. It will. Bella's gaze holds steady despite her tears. You matter to him more than you know. And more importantly, you matter to the pack. Leo threw me aside for you, Celine scoffs. The pack's loyalty belongs to him. If I'm good at one thing, Bella's voice drops lower. It's understanding what people want. Leo wants a version of you he can't have, and the pack wants their Luna. Her fingers tighten on Celine's. Why do you think I was so jealous? I tried so hard, but not everyone can be who you are. Celine studies her face, searching for manipulation. She finds it, of course. Bella is nothing if not skilled at telling people what they want to hear. But beneath the calculation lies something else. Genuine admiration. Maybe even a hint of shame. Good luck, Celine says finally, reaching down to grab a handful of Bella's golden hair and yanking. Ow! Bella yelps, hand flying to her head. What was that for? What do you think? Celine replies, a tuft of her hair in hand. For stealing your man? Bella offers reluctantly. Celine rolls her eyes. No, silly girl. For proof that you're alive? She leaves them there, Ian already moving to comfort Bella, their dramatic romance perfectly intact. Let them have their passion and their problems, she thinks. She has a life to save, and not much time left to do it. As she strides away, Bella's words echo in her mind. Not everyone can be who you are. Perhaps the girl had meant it as flattery, but she'd spoken a deeper truth than she knew. Celine hasn't spent years becoming the perfect Luna just to throw it all away now. It's time to remind everyone exactly who she is. Chapter 23. Celine's fingers tighten around the strands of golden hair in her pocket as she stands before the courthouse doors. You really think it will work? Sarah whispers beside her. It has to, she replies. Celine has only one person to convince, Leo. Jace's fate rests in the Alpha's hands, and Cedric will support whatever Leo decides. As for the pack, it will follow its Alpha. It always does. The shifters gathered by the courtroom fall in behind her inside, trailing her progress through the doors in silence. The courtroom is already packed, but Leo's presence dominates everything. A king on his high throne, power meant to crush. Alpha. She inclines her head briefly as she approaches. Luna. The title scrapes past Leo's teeth like a curse. Your time is almost up. I'm aware. The tension in the room feels like crystal about to shatter. Where's Jace? Celine asks, scanning the crowd. Leo's smirk holds cruel anticipation. He says nothing, but Celine holds his stare until he finally waves a guard toward the cells. Bring the prisoner. Her entire world narrows to the moment Jace appears in chains. Their eyes meet across the crowded room, and something inside her chest breaks and mends all at once. If he dies today, she knows with sudden clarity she will die with him. Luna Celine. Cedric's voice cuts through their silent reunion. You were given 24 hours to prove your innocence regarding consort Bella's death. That time is nearly spent. And with no proof, your lover dies. Leo interrupts, his sneer dripping satisfaction. Cedric sighs like a parent with quarreling pups. Yes, I think everyone remembers this quite clearly, Alpha Leo. Leo ignores him, focusing all his frustrated rage on Celine. Let's hear it then. Where's your big proof? What can you show us to prove you didn't kill Bella? Celine steps forward, letting her own smile sharpen. I can prove I didn't kill Bella the same way I can prove nobody killed her. Her gaze sweeps the crowd. Because consort Bella is still alive. The courtroom explodes. Voices rise in shock and disbelief. Bodies surge forward, then back like waves in a storm. The cacophony builds until the very walls seem to vibrate with it. Through it all, Celine watches Leo's eyes darken with fury. Is this a joke to you? He roars, silencing the chaos. Is this how you treat the dead? Seeing as no one's dead, it's hard to know how I'd treat them. How dare you? Leo's power floods the room like a physical force. How dare you come here? Let her speak. Jace's command cuts through Leo's rage like a blade, shocking the room into momentary silence. His eyes find hers. The dangerous half-smile she loves so much plays at his lips. "The floor is yours, my queen." He looks for all the world like a man who knows he'll walk free within the hour. It's probably foolish, but his confidence feeds her own. Celine straightens her spine. As mentioned before, I'd witnessed Consort Bella's affair with Ian, her bodyguard. Celine's voice rings clear and steady through the hushed courtroom. The latter, as I explained and Sarah confirmed, is missing from our territory. I tracked him to the docks where he used to work, where he still has contacts. But he wasn't there, and time was running out. That's when, by opening a door, I found a portal to a magician's shop. Preposterous. Leo's snarl cuts through her testimony. In this shop, Celine continues, refusing to be silenced, I met a magician who told me he could grant any wish in exchange for a price. So you're just going to keep making stories as you go along? I'm not making this up. The words burst from Celine with unexpected force. His name is Adrian, and this magician she speaks of does exist. Cedric's measured tone slices through the tension. I've heard of him. From other packs. He nods at Celine. Continue. I found traces of Ian's scent. Celine nods back to Cedric as she speaks. Tracked him to a motel, planning to bring him back here to face justice. Her eyes sweep the crowd, making sure every ear strains to catch her words. But he wasn't alone. Consort Bella was with him, very much alive. Then how do you explain her cold body currently lying in our crypt? Leo demands. Magic. The word falls like a stone in still water. Ian wished for the magician's help to fake his mistress's death, ensuring they could escape without you pursuing them for retribution. She pulls Bella's golden strands from her pocket, holding them high for all to see. I took this as proof. You'll recognize Bella's scent, Alpha. You'll also notice it doesn't carry the taint of death. Celine approaches Leo, offering the hair. Something flickers in his eyes as he breathes in the scent, recognition, confusion, maybe even hope. Her heart lifts. Surely now. My Alpha, she begins, her voice gentling. I know this betrayal cuts deep, but Bella was as much victim as perpetrator. She and her unborn child deserve mercy, not pursuit. If I can find forgiveness in my heart after being framed for her murder, surely you... The words die in her throat as Leo's gaze burns into hers. Something in those amber depths makes her wolf want to bare its throat and run, not anger or even hatred, but something worse. A cold, calculated pleasure, like a predator watching its prey walk willingly into a trap. Is this a joke? Leo's voice drops to a dangerous whisper. He holds up the strands of hair like they offend him. This proves nothing. Just hair you could have collected anywhere in the mansion, where you've been sneaking around against my explicit orders. Disbelief crashes through Celine's chest. Leo, surely you recognize her scent, how it differs from old hair or a corpse. She takes a steadying breath, then plays her final card. Besides, Leo, you're my mate. You can feel it through our bond. Am I lying? Their eyes lock, and for one heartbeat, Celine believes. This man has shared her bed, her life, her dreams for over a decade. Whatever his faults, he knows her heart. He knows her truth. But then something shifts in his gaze. Something mean and dark and deliberately cruel. In that moment, Celine realizes her terrible mistake. Yes, Leo says, crushing the strands in his fist. You're lying. Leo turns to address the crowd, his voice dripping contempt. Why would Bella, who loved me, abandon me for a lesser wolf? Why would she deny our child the brightest future? She had me, yet she'd chosen another? His laugh is sharp and cruel. Impossible. She, however, he rounds on Celine. was about to be replaced in favor of my heir. She was about to lose everything. She had motive. The truth hit Celine like a physical blow. She'd been so focused on Leo knowing her that she'd forgotten how well she knows him. Instead of catering to his ego, phrasing the story to leave his pride intact, she'd simply told the truth. But truth means nothing to Leo, only pride. And faced with choosing between sacrificing Celine or facing his wounded pride, there was never any real choice. Alpha Cedric. Leo's voice carries absolute authority. I am alpha of this pack and this woman's mate. Actually, I'm her mate, Jace interjects. You're not bonded yet, Leo snarls. Only I have insight into Celine's feelings. She's lying, desperate to save you. She fabricated this ridiculous story because she can't bear losing you. But she committed a crime against me, against this pack, against you all. He sweeps his arm toward the crowd. She must pay the price, and since he offered, her mate will pay it for her. Celine clenches her fists, despair flooding her chest. How could she have been so foolish, blinded again by doing the right thing, by trying to save everyone, by trusting Leo would... I'm not lying. The words burst from her with unexpected force. She lifts her chin, turning to face her people. For years I've served this pack faithfully, done everything in my power to make it thrive. For this pack, I accepted my mate's betrayal. For this pack, I sent the man I love away, she adds, looking at Jace. Then, her gaze finds Leo's. And for this pack, I would have stepped aside so it could have its heir. I would never risk instability, conflict, and death to satisfy a selfish impulse. I would never harm a member of my pack and her unborn child, no matter what she did with my mate. Her voice rings with quiet certainty. I'm a Luna, and as Luna, my duty defines me. Silence falls like snow over the courtroom, but Celine cannot regret being true to herself and her people. She closes her eyes, resigned to meeting Jace again in death. Then, I believe her. The words cut through the silence like a blade. Sarah stands in the crowd, dropping to her knees. Our Luna is fair and true. She would never lie. Leo's roar shakes the rafters. You'll pay for this, Sarah, he yells. And why should she? Jace's voice carries that dangerous edge she loves. You say Celine is lying, she says she isn't. Who's to say you're not the liar here, Alpha? He turns to Cedric. Celine has been nothing but faithful and reliable for years, to her pack and others. Do you really think she'd do this? Risk everything? The silence that follows feels like a physical weight. Celine watches faces she's known for years, people she's helped, protected, served, turn away from her gaze one by one. Some look ashamed, others simply resigned, but none speak up. None challenge their alpha. She wants to scream at them to remember how she'd negotiated peace with rival packs to keep their sons from war, how she'd given everything she had to this pack while asking nothing in return. But she understands. Fear of an alpha's wrath runs deeper than memory or gratitude. Leo's triumphant snort echoes through the heavy silence. Celine offers Jace a sad smile. He's too new an alpha to understand. A pack always trusts its alpha first. But then, I believe Luna Celine. The words come soft but clear as an elderly wolf, one whose grandchildren Celine had helped deliver, kneels at the back of the room. I believe my Luna. A young warrior drops to one knee, then another. Like dominoes falling in slow motion, the crowd begins to move. Women Celine had counseled through difficult matings, men whose territory disputes she'd settled fairly. I believe my Luna, they exclaim, emboldened. Children she'd protected, trained, guided. One by one, then in waves, they kneel before her, heads bowed in submission to her truth. How dare you? Leo's voice cracks with fury. I'm the alpha. My word is law. I'm telling you. You're only alpha, while the pack trusts you to lead it. Jace's smile holds no warmth. Leo's answering roar of rage drowns beneath a rising tide of voices. Luna Celine, they chant, fists pressed to hearts in ancient gestures of respect and devotion. Luna Celine. The sound swells until it seems to make the very walls vibrate. Not just voices, but the collective heartbeat of her pack, choosing truth over power, choosing her. Tears slip down Celine's cheeks as she watches them kneel, one after another, until only Leo remains standing, screaming in impotent rage at the wall of their pack's faith in her. She has never sought power or glory, has never wanted anything but to serve her people well. But in this moment, watching them choose her, choose truth and justice and everything she's tried to represent, she finally understands what it truly means to be Luna. Epilogue, 6 months later. Moonlight spills across rumpled sheets, painting silver paths along bare skin. Celine traces her fingers over the mark above Jace's heart, where Siobhan stands stark against his skin. Her true name, the one she'd almost forgotten until fate brought them together. Still can't believe you never told me your real name, Jace murmurs, catching her wandering hand and bringing it to his lips. I hadn't used it in so many years. I'd almost forgotten it. She smiles against his chest, pressing a kiss to the mark that had drawn them together even before they knew it. Besides, I rather enjoyed watching you search for your mysterious soulmate when she was right in front of you. His laugh rumbles beneath her cheek. Wicked woman. His hands slide down her back, drawing her closer. Though I suppose I deserve it for not recognizing my true mate sooner. We found each other in the end. She lifts her head to meet his kiss, slow and deep and perfect. Even after 6 months, every touch between them feels like coming home. His hand drifts to her swollen belly, where their twins grow stronger each day. More than found each other, he says with quiet wonder. Created something entirely new. He smirks. I hope Leo learns of this, he says, and realizes he was the one who couldn't get you pregnant. Celine rolls her eyes as his fingers trace patterns on her skin. Their packs have merged seamlessly under their joint leadership, something that might have seemed impossible mere months ago. But then, so much has changed since that day in court when her people chose truth over power. Any word on his whereabouts? Jace asks, though they both know he doesn't really care. None. Celine's voice holds no regret. Their mate bond had broken clean after the trial, like cutting a rope already frayed beyond repair. Though I heard interesting news about Bella. Oh. His eyebrow lifts. She's mated to some powerful beta in the Southern Territories. Here she calls herself Genevieve now. Jace's nose wrinkles. After everything Ian risked for her? He made a wish to get Bella. Celine shrugs, and in doing so, he lost her. Speaking of the magician, Jace's fingers trail up her spine. Sarah swears she found his shop again last week. She didn't. Celine snorts. Some doors only open once, when they're truly needed. His lips find that sensitive spot behind her ear. And what do you truly need now, my queen? Just this. She turns in his arms, meeting his midnight blue eyes. You, us, the truth of what we are together. His smile holds everything she loves about him, that dangerous edge softened by genuine warmth. No flattery? No ego stroking? Would you want that? Gods, no. He captures her mouth in another kiss, this one heated with promise. I want exactly what I have. You. Celine smiles. Even when I'm pointing out how impossible you're being? Especially then. His hands grow more purposeful in their wandering. Though perhaps we could delay the next lesson in honesty for a few hours. Celine laughs, thinking about paths not taken. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't found the courage that day in court. You'd still be miserable with Leo? Jace's voice holds a growl. She shakes her head. No, I mean, what if I hadn't stood up to defend myself? What if I'd just accepted his judgment like the perfect, obedient Luna everyone expected me to be? You were never meant to be just someone's perfect, obedient Luna. His fingers trail along her arm. You're just meant to be you, which turns out great for me, because you are perfect. He adds, peppering her cheeks with kisses. Still, she muses, I suppose I owe someone a huge thank you for helping us find each other. Jace's chest puffs up. Well, you're welcome, my queen. Celine snorts. Oh, I meant Bella, she says with a straight face. Bella? Jace sounds so offended she has to laugh. Well, think about it. Without her creating all this drama, who knows how long I would have stayed trapped playing the perfect mate. She grins up at Jace. Really, we should send her a gift basket. A gift basket, he repeats flatly, to thank her for almost getting you executed? It all worked out in the end, didn't it? She pats his chest soothingly. I found my true mate, escaped a loveless marriage, and learned I wasn't actually barren. Jace laughs despite himself, pulling her closer. You're impossible. And yet you love me. I do. She snuggles into his warmth, grateful for everything, even the hard parts, that led her here, to a future bright with possibility, and twins on the way. Maybe she really should send Bella that thank you note, she thinks. Then she snorts and decides against it, because let's not push it. Thank you for listening, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this second part, and that the ending didn't disappoint. I also want to take a moment to thank you for your patience with the delay between parts 1 and 2 of this story. It was due to production issues, so I really appreciate you bearing with me on this. Your support, whether through watching, liking, or commenting, makes all the difference, and I can't wait to share more stories with you in the future.